Hello, Jamie back from Inky and Scrappy with my Let's Start Stamping series. I thought we would hit shakers today. There was a request in the Ink Stamp group about, like the Roadies group, about how to make a shaker, all of those things. So I've done one on here. I've done the Infinity shaker, which we'll talk about a little bit today. But if you're looking for that one, it's in the queue of all of the ones I've done for the Let's Start Stamping series. But let's talk shakers. Aside from, you know, being like little noisemakers, and they're cute and fun, and you can do them in different ways. You can do a small little accent, as in just like a shaker element on your card, or you can go in and do a full card panel with a shaker. So let's kind of talk about some of the options. So if you have a die cut machine, that's probably one of the easiest ways to make a shaker, but I will show you how to make one without a die cut machine and still get it to look good. And infinity shakers are the easiest way to do that, but there's some other options out there as well. But I figured I would start with, you know, some die cut shapes and kind of work from there, kind of show you how to build one, and you know, the classic, there's a couple of different ways to build them. So let's kind of go over pieces. I think we'll do the first one here is the mug that I have pulled. So this is Lawn Fawn's Build-A-Mug. I think it's called the Build-A-Mug. So this one's their Build-A-Mug. So it's just your basic, you know, mug shape. And they usually do, so they do the mug, and then they do this piece, which will make your acetate piece for behind this piece. I will give you my tip for cutting acetate with is to cut it on top of a piece of paper. It helps the blade of the die cut through the acetate more cleanly, I guess. I mean, a lot of times if I don't do the piece of paper behind, it ends up not cutting all the way out. So and then you end up taking your scissors and cutting it out. It just works, I don't know, better for me that way. So, you know, one of those hot tips. But ultimately, to make a shaker, you need a clear sheet of acetate or a clear sheet of some form. So for the traditional shaker, you're going to need an acetate sheet. And acetate can be this clear plastic transparency. That's what I use. I pick it up on Amazon, and you know, I have a fairly big stack because I like making shakers. But you know, most of the craft companies have clear acetate in their bag of tricks, so you can pick it up pretty much anywhere. Packaging, look for something that's a little bit thicker. I have an envelope of just, you know, transparencies and acetate. This is some really thick acetate that was part of, I think it was like a curling iron or something that I got, or a straightener. It was in the packaging, you know, so it's a thicker, this one is definitely thicker. I use it for different types of things, but the regular acetate is, you know, I like it to be a little bit thicker, not too super flimsy. But if you are doing a clear, infinity shaker, you can use packaging. Packaging like this would work just fine for your infinity style shaker. I don't know. I think those are about, you know, and you can also get, before I forget because I have them and I don't use them a whole lot. But companies will sell the little shaker pouches, and these work well too. So don't, you know, if you don't have dies and that's something that you would like to try and you don't have that option, they do make these. I know I think it's Queen & Company or Queen & Co. does like shaker style things that have these types of things, but I do think maybe they have already die cut images that you just kind of build. So keep that in mind if you're looking for an easy option and you don't have a die cut machine. The other thing with shaker is your elements. What do you put in a shaker? Pretty much anything that's little enough that is gonna shake. Clay bits to confetti to, I like to add seed beads for the noise factor. You don't need them, but I like them. The little circle pearls like these are a little bit bigger. Keep in mind, if you're getting bigger elements in there, you're gonna need a little bit more foam or a couple more layers. But those kind of elements, here's the play bits. Keep in mind that things might get stuck on each other. So here's just some nice confetti that you can pick up at, I think those I picked up at Target probably. Michael's has an assortment. I use the diamond dots filler a lot, and these kind of work in place of the seed beads because they add that noise factor that I like so much with my shaker mixes. Am I forgetting anything? I hope I'm not forgetting anything. But while I'm here, let me pull out some shaker bits for these two. I'm thinking I'll go with beer tone, or, you know, I guess we could do other things. So let me find some shaker bits. So I kind of pulled out some, I don't know, beer flavored shaker mix components. So I picked up some marigold seed beads from, these are from Crescent Creations, but she's no longer, she doesn't have her shop open anymore, but you know, they're just a marigold color seed beads. I have the Gold Rush confetti mix from Trinity Stamps. Just gold glitter works fine as well. As I break it open all over my table, that'd be wonderful. These are some diamond dots that are left over from a card I made with a diamond dot thing, and then I pulled in a bunny mix from, these are I think from Crescent Creations because I design team for them, and I have a whole bunch of their design team or their mixes, but you can pick up them. High Supply is a great place to pick them up. Trinity Stamps has them. You know, anywhere and anywhere. Glitter is always good. Confetti in general, you know, anything sequence wise would work, you know, and you can kind of make your own. I like to make my own mix usually. Sometimes I even make my own, so much so that I have leftovers, and you know, so it's my own mix. I even colored the glitter on this one. This is my coffee shaker mix for my coffee mugs. So I kind of handmade some brown toned glitter for coffee mug fillings for one of the classes that I did. It's kind of fun. But let's get started with actually making the shaker. So this is probably it's one of my favorite ways to make a shaker. It does take a little bit more time than if I was doing it the other way, but it's probably the strongest way to make and create a shaker. So I have my acetate piece cut and my front piece. Now if I was thinking ahead of time, I'd have put some double stick clear adhesive on the back and ran that through. I'd have done like score tape on the back here and run that through the die cut machine all at once so it'd already be sticky. It would probably save me a step here at this point, but I'm just gonna add in some glue on this one all the way around the outside, and then I'll do a little bit here. And I just need to, I'm going to rub this in because I don't want the glue to like ooze out onto my acetate piece. I'd rather it be on my finger and not on my acetate. So now I'm just going to take my acetate piece, and I think this one lines up. I don't know if it's top and bottom, but I'll make it work. So I'm just going to line that up, put that on the back here so you can see that it covers all of my opening. I like to sandwich this between something heavy. So I picked up some on clearance acrylic blocks that I use for that purpose. So either I could leave it on here and then just sandwich it, but I'm just going to sandwich it between there and let it dry by itself. Now for the actual mug part or my shaker wells, I could definitely do each one individually. I decided I didn't want to do each one individually, so I'm just going to snip out my middle parts here So this is just going to help make a shaker that's just all in that area. And you could definitely not do this. I'm just doing this for ease of filling. Trust me, I've done it the other way too, and it's fun to do it the other way too. But this will save me time on the gluing aspect of it. But I like to use super heavy paper when I do it this way, so Accent Opaque 120-pound cardstock is my preferred. It's super thick, super heavy. It cuts down on the number of layers that I need to die cut out. So this one takes time in die cut land because you're die cutting one image a multitude of times, right? But this is what is going to hold, this is going to be the well for my shaker bits. So it's literally just gluing each one of these to each other. So I'm going to start with my top layer, whoops, and just make sure that I have glue where my pieces, I don't want shaker bits to like come through, right? So I'm going to start with my first one, add that on, and you can do, if you're doing 6, do 3 sets of 2 together and then glue those 2 to 2 to 2 together to get 4. I think I have 5 here. I think that should be enough for my shaker. And usually I set those as they dry. I set it under a heavy, you know, under that acrylic block to help hold it down and kind of smoosh it. If you don't have an acrylic block, a heavy book works. I'd say a foam book, but do you guys even get those anymore? I mean, we get it because we live, you know, in the sticks, so it's just something that kind of happens. It's definitely not as thick as they were when I was a child, that's for sure. But anything heavy on those would work. Oh, I'm down to my 1, right? Okay, so I'm just going to come back here and I'm going to add my next layer in. So if you have the double-sided adhesive, like die cut tape is, I think it's called die cut tape. I have some. It's by Couture Creations, I do believe. If you want a link, I can find a link for you. But it's just, it's basically score style tape, but it's thick, right? So it's like probably 4 inches wide. And then you just roll that on your paper before you run it through the die cut machine, and then you can just peel and stick, right? So it works well for this type of thing if you don't like doing the glue. I kind of like doing the glue almost better because I feel, I don't know, the other one might give you a sticky residue, but which is easy enough to fix, I guess. So my last sandwich here. I don't know, I think shakers are like building a little puzzle. And so it's just like one, you know, one piece on top of the next piece. So then you just kind of build from there. But just line everything up. I like doing it with glue because it's easier to line everything up. You have a little bit of wiggle room in there. With the double-sided stick, you don't always have that wiggle room. Granted, you can add some glue on top of there to make that work as well. So I'll go that way. And so for this one, I didn't pre-color anything, so I'm going to do my beer. In this one, let's see, I think Fossilized Amber would probably be a very good beer color. Hot Jamie take. I don't drink beer. I don't like beer. Apple beer is okay. I'm allergic to beer, so I don't do beer. I guess I would be okay with. I like, there's like some apple ales that are okay. Try not to get my fingers all goobied. Alrighty. Just adding a little bit of color to that background. Before we get too far here, okay. Now I opted for a white piece for my back, but granted, if I knew what I was putting this on, maybe I would cut that piece out, or, which is totally what I should have done, is cut another piece of acetate and glue that piece of acetate on here. So this is, pretend this is acetate, and I will just glue that on top of here, and that is kind of, you know, you're going to be able to see this better than acetate, but you can definitely take a piece of acetate and put that acetate. I've done those before too, where you can see through and you see the acetate on there as well, which those ones are kind of fun to do. A see-through shaker if you want to be able to see. And for glasses, I usually do that. I don't know why I didn't think of that today until now. Anyways, so we're going to glue on this piece onto that piece, and you'll see that you have a shaker well, or a shaker here. So here's my, well, okay, I didn't add that piece in there first. I'm on top of the world today. Okay, let's try this again. I'm going to glue this piece down first, and then I will glue this one together. And I didn't add any water splatter today. I'm slacking. Okay, try this again. So I'm going to glue my first piece, my beer piece, in there first, and then I will add this piece back. So I'm going to go with some glue again, because yeah, it's pretty dry at this point. All right. I don't know where that piece came from. All right. Much better. All right. So I have my beer in my mug, and I have my mug shaker well on top here. So we have a nice little well in there. It's not super thick, so I'm either going to use the seed beads or not use the seed beads. I'll probably use the seed beads because I like the color of those a little bit better, and because I feel like I, you know, missed out on the bubbles. The die comes with like some die cut bubbles that you could definitely die cut, but there we go. We'll just let that dry a little bit. Now the other part to this one, I lost my top piece because it was there. Yeah, here we go. So for this one, this is going to sit on top. I don't want anything in my top little one, so I don't need to add any shaker bits to that one. Keep in mind when you're adding shaker bits or shaker pieces that you want to fill it, but you don't necessarily need to overfill it. So I usually have a couple of scoops. I think they do make shaker scoops, to be honest, but I found this one was in something, and it's just like a little tiny little shaker piece scoop. So I kind of like to use this one. It kind of gives me, I usually do a couple scoops in that size, but let's just mix some shaker pieces in here. I think the seed beads are the smallest seed beads, so I think I'm going to do, I like the color of those over my dots. And you don't need a lot of seed beads in here, so don't feel like you need to overstack it with seed beads. That's probably more than enough. So maybe a little scoop of those. Do I need glitter in there? I really don't need glitter in there. I have plenty in there, but you know, I'm here, so glitter tends to be a little bit more, shall I say, it wreaks havoc on you know, it's the herpes of the craft world, right? It's going to be everywhere. I'm going to have gold glitter everywhere. Alright, so keep that in mind. If you're using glitter, it tends to go everywhere. So I have all of my shaker pieces in there. It's probably overfull, but we'll be good with it. It's a fairly small area. If you overfill it, it's just not going to shake as good. So keep that in mind. And then I'm going to add glue onto where my shaker is going to go together here. So I make sure that my glue is full on. I don't have any spots in there because I don't want my shaker mix to escape in the long run. The other thing is to definitely, you can do on my base piece, if I'd have done a piece of acetate on the top of that one piece, you could have done the sticky part of that one. So I'm just going to make sure that it is all lined up here, and then I will set it underneath a block and then we can shake it in a little bit. But I like to press down on it, make sure that the glue is going to stick, that it's going to press down, hold together, and kind of put that one off to the side for a little bit, and we'll finish that one in a little bit. So the other option that you have, so that's a traditional, I think of as a traditional style shaker, like your cup, the shaker shape that you can get, and there's so many different shapes out there. Fawn has a bunch of them that are kind of made to be a shaker one. This one happens to be a, I think it's MFT is like a tag, I think it's like the tag blueprint, I think. Don't quote me on the name, I don't remember. Fawn has a shaker tag that you can get too. I'm trying to think of some other ones, but anything that has an image or a, you know, a die with coordinating, you can even just use a die, a shake, like a tag die, and then insert a different shape into it and make that into a shaker style card. Let's see, I had my acetate piece. Okay. So for this one, I'm not going to use the die cut for my actual shaker tag. I'm just going to hand cut it and call it good. You know, I don't always need to do die cuts. But this is kind of similar in the way that you would just make sure that your acetate piece is going to be a little bit bigger than your opening. I'm just make some tick marks here in hopes that I'll make it big enough. Move all the things. My desk is a mess again. It was clean when I started today. Go figure. Okay, so I'm just taking my little tick marks here and kind of gonna cut down. You can measure. I don't like measuring. Okay. So I just kind of made my tick marks, and I'm just going to make my piece of acetate to be bigger than my window opening that I've lost my window of. Okay, so for this one, again, you can use glue. You can also use that really fine, what is this, 1/8 inch double-sided score tape. So let's do it this way. If wet glue is not your thing, I can appreciate that one. Plus, glue tends to ooze if you're not light-handed enough with it. I know, because I have that affliction from time to time. I'm going to remove that piece just so I can do my other pieces without try to save me in the long run, maybe. And at the top. Okay. Snipping off those overlap of adhesive there. So this is score style tape. I think this one's actually the Express It score style tape. You can pick it up on, I think scrapbooks.com is usually where I get my score style tape, from scrapbooks.com, because they usually always have it. Their stuff is usually always on sale, and so I usually go that route. But so for this one, I'm putting my window on the front there, kind of like we did the other one. The other one we did with glue. This one we're doing with that score style tape, and of course where my seams are, especially if I noticed there's or the clear seed beads. I'm not going to do glitter on this one because, you know, I'm still dealing with PTSD from the gold glitter sticking cut it. I usually just hold it up to it and cut it. And I know there's some companies out there that make like that we made today onto those, and then we can kind of, you know, play from there. I'll kind of work